All right, Eagles Nation, buckle up, because there's a lot to talk about. The season has reached that critical turning point where every snap, every yard, and every decision starts to shape the playoff picture. And right now, the Philadelphia Eagles find themselves in a very interesting spot. After all the ups and downs so far this year, they're tied with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for second place in the NFC, sitting just behind the Green Bay Packers, who stand at an impressive record of 5 wins and 1 loss. But the real twist is what's coming next. Right after the bye week, the Eagles face none other than those same Packers. So even if Green Bay keeps their momentum going, Philly will have a chance to take the top spot head-to-head. That's the kind of opportunity that can flip the entire narrative of a season. But before that showdown comes, this bye week is absolutely crucial. It's not just a break, it's a reset button. This is the stretch where championship teams tighten up, get healthy, and figure out what's working and what's not. Nick Sirianni said it himself earlier this week. It's all about getting locked in, identifying strengths and weaknesses, and setting the tone for the second half of the season. And history shows that this period has treated the Eagles really well. Under Sirianni, the team has been undefeated after bye weeks. Last season, their Week 5 break completely turned things around and became the launchpad for their run to the Super Bowl title. Even this year, that mini-bye following the Thursday night loss to the Giants helped spark a turnaround that pulled them right back into contention. The difference this time, though, is that the Eagles aren't trying to fix a broken system. They're building on what's finally clicking. The offense, which had been sputtering for most of the early season, exploded last week against the Giants. They finally got the run game rolling, pounding out an incredible 277 rushing yards after weeks of frustration. That kind of performance doesn't just happen by accident. The offensive line looked completely reborn, sharper, stronger, more physical. Every block, every pull, every lane seemed to open exactly when it needed to. Kevin Patullo's play calling also deserves a ton of credit. He mixed things up beautifully, leaning into more creative run designs that kept the Giants guessing all game long. Gone was the predictable, one-dimensional approach we saw earlier in the year. Instead, Philly looked dynamic, unpredictable, and flat-out dominant. Film analysts broke it down perfectly afterward. This was vintage Eagles football. You could see it in the tape, the line firing off the ball, tight and sealing edges, guards pulling with precision. Those classic pin-and-pull concepts came back in a big way, and they worked to perfection. You'd see one lineman crashing down while another pulled around the edge, wiping out defenders like bowling pins. The energy, the aggression, the execution, everything just clicked. It was the kind of trench domination that defines Philly football. You could feel the confidence coming back, not just in the players but in the entire offensive rhythm. And it wasn't just the blocking. The running backs were electric. Tank Bigsby, in particular, had the kind of breakout game fans have been waiting for. Over 100 yards on the ground, averaging double digits per carry, and nearly 9 yards after contact. That's absurd. He forced 5 missed tackles on just 9 carries and posted the highest rushing grade of any back in the league this season. That's not just a good game. That's a statement. It's proof that the Eagles' backfield now has serious depth behind Saquon Barkley. Bigsby's speed and explosiveness add another dimension that defenses will have to respect. When Barkley needs a breather, there's no drop-off. The offense keeps rolling. Speaking of Barkley, there was a bit of a scare when he left the Giants game with a groin issue in the third quarter. But thankfully, all signs point to it being minor. He's already said he's fine, and reports confirm it's not considered serious. So barring any surprises, he should be back after the bye. And that's huge, because pairing a healthy Barkley with a surging Bigsby gives the Eagles one of the most dangerous 1-2 punches in football. Now, while the offense is finally finding its rhythm, there's also been plenty of off-field noise, particularly surrounding A.J. Brown. Over the past few weeks, his name has been in headlines for all the wrong reasons. Cryptic social media posts, trade rumors, supposed tension with Jalen Hurts. It's the kind of stuff that can distract a locker room if it's not handled right. But to be fair, a lot of it seems overblown. Brown's post after the Vikings game had people guessing, and then came the reports suggesting frustration or disconnect between him and Hurts. Those stories spread like wildfire, but when you look at what's actually happening inside the team, it doesn't seem nearly as dramatic. Sirianni addressed it directly, saying everything has been normal and that AJ has been great in the building. And honestly, That tracks with what we saw on the sidelines last week. He looked relaxed, engaged, and very much a part of the group. Still, it's hard not to raise an eyebrow when you see things like AJ deleting old tweets that mention Hurts. Maybe he's trolling. Maybe he's just cleaning up his account. Who knows? Whatever the reason, fans noticed, and it stirred the pot even more. But the truth is, all that off-field chatter doesn't matter nearly as much as what happens on game day. And if Brown comes back healthy after the bye, which seems likely, that alone will make this offense even more dangerous. Meanwhile, the defense is also about to get some reinforcements. The pass rush, which already showed signs of life against the Giants, is set to receive a massive boost. Nolan Smith, who's been sidelined for 5 games with a triceps injury, is expected to return after the bye. Remember, he was their top edge rusher going into the season, and when he's on the field, his explosiveness changes the entire dynamic of the front seven. Add him back to a unit that's already starting to find its groove, and things could get scary for opposing quarterbacks. On top of that, Brandon Graham is also likely to make his season debut against the Packers. Just having those two back in the rotation should raise the ceiling of this defense significantly. Now, that doesn't mean the Eagles are done making moves. The trade deadline is looming, and it's no secret that Howie Roseman loves to stay active. Reports suggest the team could still be looking to add help, possibly at edge rusher or cornerback. One name that recently popped up in the rumor mill is Giants pass rusher Kayvon Thibodeau. His situation in New York is complicated. He's only got 1 year left on his deal after this season, and with the Giants struggling at 2 wins and 6 losses, it's possible they start looking to move pieces for the future. Thibodeau would be a fascinating fit in Philly, powerful, athletic, and still young with a ton of potential. The big question, though, is whether the Giants would ever trade him within the division. That seems unlikely. Still, crazier things have happened. What seems far more certain is that the Eagles will make some kind of move. Adam Schefter even said earlier this week that he'd be surprised if they didn't. So the only question is where they'll look. The pass rush is improving, but you can never have too many guys who can get after the quarterback. The cornerback position has had its share of inconsistencies, so maybe that's the target. Or maybe Roseman surprises everyone with a move no one sees coming. Wouldn't be the first time. Vic Fangio said the team feels confident in its current depth at both those spots, but he didn't rule anything out completely. What's exciting, though, is how everything feels like it's trending upward. After a rocky start to the year filled with frustrating losses and offensive inconsistency, the Eagles are starting to look like themselves again. The offensive line is bullying people. The play calling has rhythm. The running game is punishing defenses. And the team's energy, both on the field and in the locker room, feels right. This bye week is arriving at the perfect moment, not because the team needs to fix everything, but because it gives them a chance to double down on what's finally working. The momentum is real, and if they can carry that into the showdown against Green Bay, this second half of the season could get really interesting for Philadelphia. Heading into the second half of the season, the biggest question for the Eagles isn't whether they have the talent. It's whether they can maintain the balance and rhythm they've finally discovered. This team has already shown flashes of dominance, but flashes don't win championships. Consistency does. And that's what this bye week is designed to create. It's not just about resting up or watching film. It's about building habits that last through December and January. Sirianni and his staff have done this before. They know how to turn a mid-season break into momentum. When you look back at their track record, it's clear they used this period not only to get healthy, but to reinvent parts of the playbook, polish situational football, and mentally reset the roster. That's especially important for Jalen Hurts. Through the first stretch of the year, he's had moments of brilliance mixed with a few frustrating drives. But even when things weren't clicking perfectly, his leadership never wavered. You could see it on the sidelines, calm, focused, talking through reads with receivers, encouraging linemen after long series. That composure matters, because when your quarterback stays steady, everyone else follows suit. With a full week to rest his arm, sharpen timing with his receivers, and study what defenses have been showing him, Hurts could be primed for a breakout run down the stretch. And let's not forget, he's getting reinforcements. A.J. Brown returning from that hamstring injury gives the passing attack a whole new gear. Brown is one of those players who changes how defenses line up. Even when he's not getting the ball, his presence opens space for everyone else. Devonta Smith across the middle, Dallas Goedert up the seam, and even the running backs leaking out of the backfield. When Brown is on the field, the entire offense feels different. There's more swagger, more explosion, more confidence. And if the relationship between him and Hurts is as strong as Sirianni insists, we're about to see them remind everyone why they were one of the most unstoppable duos in football last season. But beyond the star names, what's really been impressive is how this coaching staff has adapted. Kevin Patullo deserves a ton of credit for adjusting the scheme and not forcing something that wasn't working. For weeks, the offense was pressing too much, trying to make the deep ball happen instead of taking what defenses were giving. Then, in that Giants game, everything changed. They leaned into their strengths: physicality, tempo, and creativity. Those pin-and-pull runs weren't just fun to watch, they were strategic. They took advantage of the Giants' over-aggressive front, using their momentum against them. It's the kind of intelligent game planning that shows this staff isn't just reacting, they're evolving. And that's what it takes to win in the NFC right now. The Packers, the 49ers, the Lions, they're all playing sharp, disciplined football. To stay in that conversation, the Eagles have to keep finding ways to innovate, not just rely on talent alone. Because talent gets you highlights, but adaptability gets you rings. This next stretch, especially with games against physical teams like Green Bay, will test whether Philly can handle adversity while maintaining that newfound rhythm. On the defensive side, the return of Nolan Smith and Brandon Graham could be the jolt this team needs. The Eagles' defensive line has already started to heat up, but getting two key veterans back into the rotation will keep them fresh deep into games. When Philly's pass rush is humming, everything else on defense starts to fall into place. Corners get more aggressive, linebackers can flow faster, and suddenly, those third and longs start turning into momentum-shifting sacks. That's when this defense is at its best, when it's dictating the game instead of reacting to it. Vic Fangio's influence is starting to show, too. His system takes time to master, but the players are clearly becoming more comfortable in it. The disguise coverages are sharper, the rotations are cleaner, and communication between the secondary and linebackers looks smoother than it did at the start of the year. If that trend continues, the Eagles could quietly build one of the most complete defenses in the league, something they'll need if they want to go toe-to-toe with the elite offenses they're bound to face in the playoffs. FlyEaglesFly News family, smash subscribe and hit like. Your support keeps the freshest Philadelphia Eagles updates flying in. Drop your take in the comments, and let's talk birds. Philadelphia fans, brace yourselves. The NFL rumor mill is buzzing louder than ever tonight, and the name on everyone's lips is A.J. Brown. Sources close to the team suggest that the star wide receiver, who has been a cornerstone of the Eagles' offense, may be on the verge of a stunning departure. While nothing has been officially confirmed, the speculation alone has sent social media into a frenzy, leaving fans and analysts scrambling to connect the dots. Brown, who has dazzled with his combination of speed, strength, and playmaking ability, has been a favorite target for quarterback Jalen Hurts since joining Philadelphia. His performances have often been game-changing, making him one of the most feared wideouts in the league. But now, whispers of contract disputes, front office disagreements, or potential trade offers are creating a storm of uncertainty around the star's future. Some insiders suggest that a blockbuster trade could be on the horizon, potentially shaking up the NFC East in ways few predicted. The speculation isn't entirely unfounded. Reports indicate that the Eagles are weighing options to retool their roster, and Brown's name has come up in conversations with multiple teams. While Philadelphia has traditionally been cautious with trades involving top-tier talent, the NFL is nothing if not unpredictable, and one cannot rule out a seismic move. Meanwhile, fans are divided. Some insist the team would be foolish to part with Brown, while others argue that a strategic shakeup might be exactly what the Eagles need to reach the next level. If A.J. Brown were to leave, the ripple effects would be felt across the league. Teams with cap space and a need for an explosive wide receiver would undoubtedly enter a bidding war, while Philadelphia would face the daunting challenge of replacing one of its most dynamic players. Until an official statement is released, all we have are tantalizing hints and endless speculation, enough to keep the rumor mill spinning for days, maybe weeks. For now, Eagles supporters can only watch, wonder, and hope that their star wideout remains in green. But in the unpredictable world of professional football, one thing is certain. When A.J. Brown's name comes up in trade talks, hearts race, tongues wag, and the NFL world takes notice. That's a wrap from FlyEaglesFly News. If you want the fastest Eagles updates, subscribe, drop a like, and turn on the bell. Sound off in the comments. Let's talk birds.